We are each divine, sovereign, creator beings. And it is through our focused intention every single day and our willingness to meet ourselves where we're at and to embody the present moment fully that we become liberated of any and all things that are seemingly holding us back or keeping us in a disempowered state. There is currently this disconnect between this disconnect that I see in the spiritual community between wanting to attract our desires, wanting to manifest, wanting this, and like truly becoming the embodiment of desire itself. Because it is only when we can courageously drop away from being so up in imagination land all the time, which I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with our imagination. There's nothing wrong with visualization and having a desire for something. But if you stay too long up in this like spacey, dreamy land with it, and you don't physically begin to embody the desire itself, you're keeping it at a distance from you, and it cannot manifest into your reality. It simply cannot, because you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And I know that this is said all the time, at least in my realm of in my realm of the internet. I hear people say that all the time. We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. And this is true. This is true. But you must be courageous enough to face yourself where you're at. A lot of times, the reason why we are procrastinating the state of embodiment is because when we first begin to descend back down into our bodies, it can feel really crunchy. It can feel really uncomfortable. And we're faced with a lot of shadow, a lot of things that we've been blaming other people for, a lot of things we've been blaming the government for. We've been blaming our mom, our partner. We've been putting all this blame out onto the world as to why it's not happening for us. And then just like visualizing all day, every day, and then wondering why nothing's coming into fruition. It's because in that state, you're disempowered, you're disembodied. You're fractured out. You're fractured. You're not in the wholeness of your being. The wholeness of your being is facing the parts of you that you don't want to face, and so you blame your mom or your partner or the government. This is the first step to a deeper embodiment of what you desire. You must first be courageous enough to meet yourself with where you are at. And this is what we are really going to be diving into in my 3-day, I called it a retreat just because I kind of like that word, but it's virtual. It's going to be on Zoom. We're really going to be focusing intensely on embodiment, embodying the state of desire, dropping into our bodies and becoming our yearning, becoming the very thing that we desire, embodying ourselves so fully and so completely that the world has no choice but to mold and reshape itself around us. And this is going to look like facing a lot of our cycles that we've been stuck in, that we've been too scared to break, that we didn't want to face. I want to share a story with y'all about yesterday. After I posted the video I posted yesterday, I had a weird day. I posted that video and then I just like used every ounce of will I had left to not touch my phone for the rest of the night and to just sit in the discomfort that was arising for me. Because if you watch that video that I posted yesterday, I was really going back and forth between like the dark and light aspects of myself, and I was having a hard time in the darkness. I kept, finding myself scrolling, seeing that I was triggered, seeing that I needed to sit with it, and just choosing to ignore it. Until after I posted that video, I put my phone down and I just did not touch it. I used every shred of willpower I had in my body to not touch my phone and to just be in the discomfort, which was uncomfortable. It was crunchy. I didn't like it. And it was only after about like 5 or 10 minutes sitting in that discomfort that I began to see this version of myself when I was like 14 or 15 or 16 years old, like crying herself to sleep. And I vividly remember this day. I guess I had a lot of days back then. I'm sure we all did. Just being like confused and feeling ugly and unworthy and not good enough and whatever. And I just remember seeing her and laying in bed next to her as she like cried herself to sleep. And I just listened to her. I just allowed the voices to get louder that had been wanting to creep up within me all day long, but I've been suppressing them, pushing them down, numbing out, scrolling on my phone. I was ignoring her, but I didn't really know what I was ignoring until I sat with it. And I was ignoring the 14-year-old version of myself who didn't feel good enough, who felt like no matter how hard she tried, nobody cared. No matter how loud she was, nobody saw her. Nobody understood her. And rather than trying to positive think my way out of that moment and devalue what the 14-year-old version of myself was trying to express to me in that moment, rather than gaslighting her, I just sat there in my bed and I held her and I cried. And I just let her express herself. I just allowed the voices to get louder. I allowed myself to burn in the flame that this 14-year-old version of myself was carrying. And it was only in that moment where I sat with it that it began to disperse, that the screams got quieter. The voices that were once so loud and overpowering got quieter. Like that feeling after you have a good cry and then afterwards everything's just like, or like after the rain, it just feels purifying. Right? This is what it looks like to integrate a part of yourself back into the wholeness of your being. And when you are constantly numbing out and avoiding, which is okay, I do it all the time. That's what the video was about yesterday. But I also choose to courageously sit with myself all the time. It's a balance. There's a mixture. And I'm getting better at it every day. I didn't used to be good at it. I used to not even realize that I was avoiding anything. It's in those moments when you're bringing your awareness and you're just letting that 14-year-old version of you express themselves freely and openly and ferociously to you. And you do not cower. You do not shame. You do not hide away, but you lovingly hold space and cry with them. It's in those moments that transformation occurs. It's in those moments that you alchemize from within and transform your world. And it's that is what we are being faced with when we begin to descend back down into our body. All parts of ourselves that are cast away, fragmented from the wholeness of our being, lost and wandering around in our subconscious mind, crying and screaming out for help that we've been ignoring, we've been too scared to face because we're afraid. If we look at it, what does that mean about me? If we look at that It's coming from within me. So does that make me bad? Does that mean my manifestations aren't going to come in? I mean, that's not going to work for me. I need a new car. So I'm just going to ignore, pretend like she's not there, because hello, doesn't she know I'm trying to manifest a new car? I can't deal with this right now. Like, it's just so silly, and it's not the correct way to do it. That is the fragmented ego, fallen world, inverted matrix way to manifest, is to fragment ourselves and try to layer positive thinking over it and just be like, if I just visualize that I'm going to get a new car, and I visualize getting into the car and starting the car and how it feels to have the steering wheel in my hand, I'm just going to keep visualizing until it becomes a reality. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And if it does, it's not authentic. It's not something that has been manifested in the light. It has been something that has been manifested through the ego. And anything that is created through the ego is an illusion. And all illusions will be burned away through the fire, through the holy fire. All illusions will be burned away through holy fire. So yeah, for now, you manifested yourself a new convertible or a new car or whatever. I'm laughing because I did this back in like 2020. I was like so like obsessed with convertibles, and I was like trying to manifest a convertible, and I did. Yeah, and then I crashed it. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, you can manifest with your ego, but it's not going to last long because it's false light. It's an illusion. If you want true and lasting change, you must manifest with the divinity within you. The divinity within you is not afraid of the fragmented versions of yourself that are cast away, wandering aimlessly in your subconscious mind. The divinity within you knows that in order to begin co-creating reality with the divine, with the divinity, with itself, that it must first go within and burn away all illusion. So you must be willing to meet yourself where you're at. This is how embodiment works. You must be willing to meet yourself where you're at, and then use your focused intention every single day to keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. This works through compounded effort, right? So I'm like thinking, like, I just went off on like a random tangent, but yeah, that is what this 3-day retreat is really going to be getting into, is pure, unashamed embodiment of the wholeness of our being, so that we can then move forward with the skills to continue integrating these fragmented parts of ourselves, right? You cannot properly co-create reality with the divine if you are fragmented and unwilling to bring yourself back into wholeness. When you're fragmented, you manifest unconsciously with the ego, or consciously with the ego, which is all an illusion, and it's going to burn away. When you bring yourself back into wholeness, you bring the fragmented pieces of yourself back together. When you're willing to do that work, you begin co-creating reality with the divinity inside of you. You're making space for the divinity to pour through you and create your reality. And it becomes more about embodying desire itself in each present moment. Yes, you may have like an end goal, a physical, linear goal, but you're not so focused on that. You set the intention and you let it go, and you come back to the present moment, and you focus on embodying that desire now, right here, right now. But that's very difficult to do when you're fragmented. So that's why you must be willing to bring yourself back into wholeness. Not only first, but continuously throughout the journey. You must have such focused awareness that you notice when your energy starts to feel out of alignment. When your energy starts to be pulled out of alignment, you begin then co-creating unconsciously with the ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with that. It's just like a learning experience, right? Misalignment is truly only ever showing up to present you an opportunity to root yourself even deeper in the truth of who you are. It's never showing up to shame you or to make you feel stupid or to make you feel not good enough. It's always, always, always showing up as an opportunity for you to root yourself even more firmly in the truth of your divinity. So there's nothing to be afraid of when we're out of alignment. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not scary. When we're out of alignment, that's a shadow aspect of ourselves, a fragmented version of ourselves that is asking to be seen, that is asking to be heard so that it can be brought back into wholeness. There is nothing wrong with being in shadow. There is nothing wrong with being in misalignment. As long as you have your awareness, as long as you have practice honing the craft that is your awareness, so then you can instantly notice that something feels off, that something feels misaligned, that something feels fragmented, and then go there. Using your focused intention and awareness, you hone in on that fragmented aspect of yourself and you courageously bring it back into wholeness through expression of whatever that fragmented version wants to express freely without harming yourself or others, but freely, holding a space of loving compassion for whatever it is this fragmented version is trying to say to you that you've been ignoring for years because you're scared of it, of what it'll mean about you, or whatever the fear is, right? So I'm really so excited for this 3-day retreat, 3-day experience. And I just know it's the beginning of something like bigger than me, bigger than myself. This is just like the first, I shouldn't even call it the first building block. This is just a building block, but it's going to be powerful. It's going to be everything that I have gathered and integrated on my journey thus far. And it's going to help anyone who feels lost in the darkness, that can't seem to find their way back home. This is going to be my exact method that I've been using to retrieve these fragmented versions of myself so that I can root myself in an even deeper sense of embodiment, so that in each now moment, I have an even greater opportunity to embody my desire now. It's hard to embody your desire when you're fragmented all over the place and everything's foggy and you're confused and you don't know which way's up or down or left or right, and you just feel this intense unease and anxiety and depression. Right? We have to move through those things by bringing everything back into wholeness. And then it's easier and easier to embody your desire in the present moment. But you can't magically jump to embodying desire until you move through and reintegrate all the shadow so that you can see clearly, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think the flow stopped there. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of us. It's like this deep embodiment of like our wild woman archetype, which maybe not everyone will resonate with that, but this embodiment of the wild woman has helped me immensely because the wild woman does not shy away from discomfort. The wild woman does not exist to make anyone comfortable. She just exists in the fullness and the entire spectrum of her dark and light. And she's learned how to weave them together into one. There is no just good girl and evil witch. She's weaved the good girl and the evil witch into one, embracing both sides wholly and completely. No longer fearing her darkness or making herself small within herself in order to comfort those around her or even herself. She understands that her own fear is an initiation into a deeper level of embodiment, into a deeper level of her own truth and desire. Yeah. Okay, so I'll put the link for that down below. I hope to see you there. Um, it's going to be the end of April, the last weekend in April. It's going to be 3 days, 2-hour calls on Zoom each day. And each day has its own like coordinated theme to like seamlessly run together with the next. Yeah. Very exciting. So I'll leave that down below and I will talk to you guys later.